Have you ever felt a profound dissonance, a deep-seated knowing that the rules you were taught about life simply don't align with the reality you witness? You were told to be a gentle lamb in a world that, you can't help but notice, is ruled by lions. You were instructed that your kindness would be your strength, that your fairness would earn you a throne of respect, that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, rewards the pure of heart. But look around you. Open your spiritual eyes and truly see. History does not whisper this comforting tale. It screams a much harsher, more primal truth. The most powerful souls to ever walk this earth, the rulers who forged empires from dust, the emperors whose will shaped centuries, the titans of industry who built kingdoms of glass and steel, they do not vibrate on the frequency of gentle request. They understand a different universal law, a brutal and unspoken divine decree that governs the flow of true power. This is the secret that has been hidden from you, the truth that will shatter the very foundations of your perception. If this message resonates with a deep and perhaps unsettling part of your soul, if you've felt this truth lingering in the shadows of your own experiences, then you have found your tribe. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share your awakening in the comments below with a simple "I am awake," because what you are about to learn will change everything. This hidden law is a stark and unforgiving principle. Fear is the currency of control, and perceived weakness is the harbinger of spiritual death. You must let this sink into your very essence. Imagine a reality where mercy is not a virtue, but a fatal energetic leak, a crack in your spiritual armor that invites chaos and ruin. A reality where a single moment of hesitation, a flicker of doubt, can cause the entire empire of your life to crumble into dust. This is not some dark fantasy. This is the raw, untamed energy of the world we inhabit. It is the reason ruthless conquerors are etched into the annals of history as legends, their names echoing through eternity, while the kind-hearted leaders, the compassionate souls who ruled with an open heart, were betrayed by those they trusted, overthrown by the very people they sought to serve, and ultimately forgotten by the relentless march of time, their gentle light extinguished and lost to the winds of history. They were lambs who tried to lead a pack of wolves, and they paid the ultimate price for their naivety. They failed to understand the fundamental nature of the game. And perhaps no one in the history of humankind understood this brutal divine mechanism of power better than Niccolò Machiavelli. Picture him, a man of the 16th century, a crucible of ambition and betrayal. He dared to dip his quill not in ink, but in the raw, unfiltered truth of the human soul. He scribed a tome so dangerous, so unapologetically ruthless in its clarity, that it was deemed heretical. A forbidden text banned by the Vatican itself for fear that its power would fall into the wrong, or perhaps the right hands. This sacred and dangerous manuscript was called The Prince. It was not merely a book, it was a grimoire, a guide on how to seize the raw energy of power and chain it to your will, never to lose it again. And within its weathered pages, Machiavelli revealed a terrifying, world-altering secret, a truth that most souls are not prepared to face. The universe does not reward kindness. It does not respond to your goodness or your moral purity. It rewards power. It answers to the one who can command, not the one who merely asks. It is the year 1513. A man sits in exile, stripped of his titles, his influence, his connection to the currents of political power. He has been cast out, abandoned by the very rulers he once served with unwavering loyalty. He has seen the true face of human nature, the fickle heart of those who wield authority. But in his solitude, he does not weep. He does not beg for mercy or write confessions of his supposed sins. Instead, he does something extraordinary. He becomes a channel for a timeless wisdom. He writes, "Not a plea, not a justification, but a divine blueprint for power so potent, so devastatingly effective, that for the next 500 years, dictators, kings, presidents, and CEOs would secretly study its pages as their holy scripture. Because Machiavelli knew one thing with absolute, soul-deep certainty. To survive, to thrive, in a world governed by the unyielding laws of power, you must not be loved. You must be feared. This is the truth that society wants you to forget, the wisdom that the powerful want to keep for themselves. But what if Machiavelli was right? What if every single thing you believe about morality, about fairness, about leadership, is not your shield, but your cage? What if your very goodness is the frequency that is making you weak, a beacon for those who would drain your energy and use it for themselves? Stay with me, because once you truly hear what Machiavelli revealed, you will never perceive the flow of power in the same way again. The veil will be lifted from your eyes forever. The universe is not fair. That is not a cynical thought. It is a fundamental spiritual law. You have been programmed from birth with a lie, a soothing lullaby meant to keep you docile and compliant. You have been told that goodness is a magnet for power, that if you are kind, just, and fair, the world will bend to your will and reward you with abundance and respect. But the chronicles of history, the stories etched in blood and stone, tell a radically different story. Goodness does not grant power. Strength does. Those who wait for power to be handed to them like a gift will wait for an eternity. They will never receive it. Instead, they become pawns in the grand cosmic game, used, manipulated, and ultimately discarded by those who are brave enough, ruthless enough, to take power for themselves. And if you do not awaken to this truth, you remain at the mercy of those who have. But do not just take my word for it. Let the echoes of history prove it to you. Consider one of the greatest examples of a soul who lost his divine right to rule through an excess of kindness. King Louis XVI of France. He was no tyrant. He did not rule with a vibration of cruelty. His heart was aligned with fairness and compromise. He genuinely believed he could reason with the tempest of revolution. And where did this noble belief lead him? To the guillotine. Louis XVI tried to be a king of the people, not a king above them. He made concessions. He softened the harsh laws of his ancestors. He attempted to share his power, to dilute his own authority in the name of peace. But in a time of chaos and uprising, in a whirlwind of primal human energy, perceived weakness is a death sentence. The people did not honor his kindness. Their collective consciousness did not register it as strength. They saw it as weakness, as an invitation to devour him. They smelled blood in the water. Machiavelli would have foreseen his tragic destiny from the very moment he ascended the throne. In The Prince, he writes a chilling prophecy. A prince who is too merciful invites chaos, while one who is feared maintains order. History has proven this law to be as immutable as gravity, time and time again. The rulers who hesitate, who show mercy at the wrong moment, who believe in the inherent goodness of a mob, are always the first to fall. But why? Why does the human soul, on a primal level, respect fear more than love? It is a question that cuts to the core of our existence. Most people want to believe in a higher ideal. They want to believe that love is the ultimate frequency, that it is stronger than fear. They want to believe that people will naturally follow a leader who treats them with dignity and compassion. But our spiritual DNA, our survival instinct forged over millennia, does not operate on such lofty ideals. In reality, we are wired to respect strength. Psychological studies have shown that when individuals perceive someone as dominant, as a powerful force, they instinctively defer to them. It is a biological, energetic imperative. Fear, when wielded correctly, creates a sense of order, control, and predictability. Three things. The human brain, in its constant search for safety, craves above all else. Love is an emotion. Fear is an instinct. This is why, even in our modern world, the most ruthless individuals so often ascend to the highest peaks of power. The CEO who fires half his company without flinching to save the bottom line is feared, but his strength is respected. The politician who crushes his opponents with brutal rhetoric is hated by many, but he remains in power. The bully in the schoolyard is not liked, but everyone obeys him. This isn't about morality, it's about the raw mechanics of survival instincts. Machiavelli's most famous and most misunderstood statement is this: "It is better to be feared than loved if you must choose." But what was the deeper, spiritual meaning behind this chilling advice? He was not advocating for mindless tyranny. He was not saying a ruler should be cruel for the sake of being cruel. He was revealing a brutal truth about the nature of human energy. Love is conditional. People love you as long as you are serving their needs, as long as you are providing them with something they desire. The moment you stop benefiting them, the moment your energy is no longer useful to them, their love vanishes like mist in the morning Sunday. But fear is reliable. Fear ensures obedience, even when people are unhappy, even when they disagree with you. A leader who is only loved will eventually be betrayed. But a leader who is feared will be respected and obeyed, even by those who secretly hate him. Let us look at this law in action. History is a grand stage filled with two types of leaders. First, there is the prince, ruthless, strategic, feared. Then, there is the fool, kind-hearted, trusting, weak. The prince survives, thrives, and shapes the course of destiny. The fool gets overthrown, killed, or forgotten. Take the legendary Julius Caesar. He was beloved by the common people of Rome, a true champion of the masses, but he was too trusting. He practiced a dangerous form of mercy. He forgave his political enemies, believing his generosity would win their loyalty. And in return for his mercy, they stabbed him 23 times in the back on the floor of the Roman Senate. Compare that to his successor, Augustus. Augustus did not make the same mistake. He learned from Caesar's fall. He ruthlessly and systematically eliminated his enemies. He crushed rebellions without a moment's hesitation, and he ruled in peace and prosperity for over 40 years. Love made Caesar vulnerable. Fear made Augustus invincible. Now, let's bring this timeless law into the modern world. This law of power isn't just found in ancient history books. It's playing out right now, in boardrooms, in political arenas, in the very fabric of our society. Look at the most powerful CEOs and politicians in the world. They don't win by being nice. They win by being ruthless when necessary. Steve Jobs was not loved by his employees. He was feared. He fired people without hesitation. He crushed his competitors and demanded absolute perfection. People may have hated working for him, but he built Apple into a trillion-dollar empire that changed the world. Vladimir Putin rules with an iron fist. He eliminates threats before they have a chance to rise, ensuring that no opposition can challenge his power. Elon Musk has fired entire departments overnight, ignored public criticism, and dominated industries through sheer force of will. People may hate these men, but they fear and respect their power. This is Machiavelli's lesson in action. And this brings us to his most ruthless law of all. Machiavelli despised mercy in the realm of power. He saw it as a trap, a weakness disguised as a virtue. Why? Because mercy does not protect you. Mercy leaves you open to betrayal. The moment you show weakness, the moment you let a threat survive out of a sense of compassion, your enemies will take advantage of it. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who pardons his enemies ensures his own destruction." A perfect, tragic example is Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev believed in compromise and openness. He gave his enemies freedom, trusting that they would be fair in return. And what happened? They used that very freedom to overthrow him and dismantle the empire he led. Contrast that with Joseph Stalin. Stalin eliminated all threats before they could rise. He ruled with an iron fist, and his power remained unchallenged for decades. The lesson is brutal but clear. Never give your enemies a chance to strike. You now understand why fear is a more stable foundation for power than love. You understand why power is taken, never given, and you understand why mercy in the face of a threat is a fatal mistake. But if you think this is dark, wait until you hear Machiavelli's most dangerous rule, because there is one final law of power, one so ruthless that it decides who rules and who is ruled. Power is not just about having control, it's about keeping it. And the greatest mistake most people make is not lacking power, it's losing it because they don't understand the true nature of fear. Machiavelli's philosophy was never about mindless cruelty. It was not about being a tyrant for the sake of it. Instead, he revealed a much colder, much more calculated truth. Many believe that fear and cruelty are the same, that to rule with fear means to become a monster. But Machiavelli understood a fundamental truth. Fear does not mean cruelty, it means control. The goal is not to be hated. A ruler who is hated is always in danger. The goal is to be respected through fear. People should fear the consequences of betraying you, but they should not hate your very existence. Why? Because hatred leads to rebellion. Fear, when balanced correctly, creates stability. Machiavelli warned that a ruler should be careful not to be too cruel nor too lenient. If you are too cruel, you will create enemies that unite against you. If you are too kind, you will be taken advantage of. So, what is the perfect balance? Punish betrayal severely. If someone betrays you, make an example out of them. If you don't, you invite future betrayals. Be predictable in your rewards, but unpredictable in your punishments. If people know good behavior is rewarded, but betrayal is crushed, they will stay loyal out of rational fear, not hatred. Ensure the people benefit from your rule. If your leadership brings them stability, prosperity, or protection, they will have no reason to rebel, even if they fear you. These lessons are not just theory. History has already proven them. One of the greatest examples of this balance, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was feared across the world. Entire cities would surrender without a fight, just at the rumor of his army approaching. But here's the part most people miss. He was not hated by his own people. He was respected. Why? Because he made life better for those who were loyal. He created one of the safest trade routes in history, the Silk Road. He promoted merit over bloodline. If you were skilled, you could rise in rank. He crushed rebellion without hesitation, ensuring stability. His enemies feared him, but his people respected him. That is the art of fear. But fear alone is not enough to keep power. You must make ruthless decisions. Most leaders lose power because they hesitate, they wait too long, they show mercy at the wrong moment. Machiavelli warned against this. He believed that power was not about kindness, but about decisiveness. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. The most successful rulers in history had one thing in common. They removed threats before they became problems. Why is removing threats early the key to long-term power? The biggest mistake weak leaders make is ignoring small threats until they grow too big to handle. Example, Julius Caesar. Caesar was warned that a group of senators were plotting against him. He dismissed it. He believed in his own popularity, thinking no one would dare challenge him. He was wrong. On the Ides of March, those same senators stabbed him 23 times in the Roman Senate. His refusal to remove threats early led to his downfall. Contrast that with Vladimir Lenin. When Lenin came to power after the Russian Revolution, he did not make the same mistake. He eliminated all possible threats. He crushed opposition before it could grow. He did not wait for his enemies to strike first. As a result, he built a Soviet state that lasted for decades. Machiavelli would have called Lenin a true master of power. Machiavelli gave one simple rule when dealing with traitors: crush them immediately, or they will destroy you later. He warned that a ruler should never allow a defeated enemy to survive. If you show mercy to those who have already opposed you, you are giving them time to gather strength. One of the most famous cases of this mistake, King Richard II of England. Richard II exiled his rival, Henry Bolingbroke. Instead of executing him, he thought he was being merciful. Bad move. Bolingbroke returned years later, gathered an army, overthrew Richard, and executed him. Mercy is dangerous when given to the wrong people. One of the greatest examples of eliminating threats before they could rise, Joseph Stalin. Stalin didn't wait for potential enemies to challenge him. He purged his opposition before they had the chance to grow. By the time his rivals realized what was happening, it was too late. Was it ethical? But was it effective? Absolutely. His ruthless approach to power ensured he ruled unchallenged for decades. Machiavelli would have called him a master of survival. The reason most people fail at power is simple. They hesitate when they should act. Hesitation leads to weakness, and weakness leads to destruction. Machiavelli made it clear, it is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose. But most people are too afraid to be feared. They want to be liked. They want to be seen as good. And that is exactly why they fail. Because in the real world, power belongs to those who understand when to be ruthless. Hesitation is fatal, but speed is deadly. Machiavelli believed that one of the most effective strategies was striking before your enemy realizes what's happening. Example, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon won countless battles, not just because of strategy, but because he was unpredictable. He moved his armies faster than anyone expected. He attacked before his enemies could organize. He never waited. He forced others to react to him. This is why Napoleon rose to become the most feared leader in Europe. Now you understand the art of fear, how to be feared without being hated, why removing threats early is the key to survival, and the fatal mistake most leaders make, hesitation. But there's one final lesson Machiavelli left behind. One so dangerous, so ruthless, that it determines who rules and who is ruled. Power is not just about strength, it's about perception. The greatest rulers in history did not just win battles, they controlled how people saw them. They made their enemies believe lies while hiding their true power. And this is Machiavelli's darkest lesson. Power is not just action, it's illusion. A leader can be stronger than all his enemies, but if he appears weak, he will be attacked. A ruler can be hated by his people, but if he appears beloved, no one will dare rise against him. The difference between a king and a pawn is not just their strength, it's how others perceive them. Machiavelli understood that men are simple and easily deceived. A wise ruler, he said, should never be completely honest, because the moment people know your true intentions, they can stop you. The deadliest mistake in power is being too honest about your goals. If you want power, don't say it. Let people believe you're humble. If you want to eliminate a rival, don't warn them. Smile until you strike. If you want to change the world, don't announce it. Let people think nothing is happening until it's too late. One of the greatest masters of deception in history was Julius Caesar. While his enemies believed he was loyal to the Roman Republic, he was silently building his army. He acted weak so that no one feared him. Then, when the moment was right, he crossed the Rubicon and took Rome in a single move. His enemies never saw it coming. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. This is the essence of Machiavellian strategy. Deception is not an option, it's a necessity. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must be like both the lion and the fox. A lion is powerful, but too predictable. A fox is weak but cunning. The perfect ruler is both strong enough to destroy enemies, yet smart enough to avoid traps. And what is the greatest trap in power? Trust. If there's one lesson Machiavelli emphasized above all, it's this: never trust blindly. The one who smiles at you today might cut your throat tomorrow. Loyalty is an illusion. Friendship is temporary. Trust is a weakness. And yet, history is full of leaders who fell because they ignored this rule. Julius Caesar himself made this fatal mistake. He trusted Brutus, a man he treated like a son. And in the final moments of his life, as the knives of the Roman Senate struck him, it was Brutus who delivered the last blow. Machiavelli would have never trusted a Brutus, because he knew that enemies are predictable, they want to harm you. Friends, however, are dangerous because they can betray you when you least expect it. If you must trust someone, always have leverage over them. If people think you are weak, they will try to take advantage of you. But if you make them believe you are harmless, they will let their guard down. This is how power works. It is a game of appearances. A historical example of this strategy is Napoleon Bonaparte. Before he became emperor, he was seen as an ordinary officer. No one expected him to rise. But while others were drunk on their victories, Napoleon was planning. He waited, let others underestimate him, and then struck with absolute force. He did not just defeat his enemies, he made them regret underestimating him. Machiavelli believed that if you must strike, strike completely. If you remove an enemy, leave no chance for revenge. If you take power, leave no doubt about who is in control. Half measures are the fastest path to destruction. And now, we arrive at the final, brutal truth about power. It's not about being good or bad, it's about control. The strong act before their enemies move. The weak hesitate and are destroyed. Reality doesn't matter. What people believe matters. Never show your true strength. Let others underestimate you until it's too late. Machiavelli did not see the world as good or evil. He saw it for what it was, a ruthless game where only the strong survive. The world is not kind. It never was. And now, you face the ultimate question. Will you control power, or will it control you? Power is a game, and now you know the rules. But here's the real question. If you had the chance, would you use them? Would you embrace Machiavelli's laws, or would you refuse, knowing it might cost you everything? History does not remember the kind, it remembers the victorious. So tell me, if you had to choose, would you rather be feared or loved? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you found this truth uncomfortable, good. That means you are starting to see the world for what it really is.